My mom wrote a song about me and adoption when I was older, when I was first like starting to become a therapist working with adoptees, and that was really something on my mind and something I was talking to them about. And she wrote a song for me, and it was all about how I tried to run away one time and I had a suitcase and I like walked up the hill, but then I didn't get down I didn't go further than the hill. I walked back down. But this idea that there's enough love for me to want to go find my birth mom, but also like have a family here.
I really had to look at the foundation that I came from to know how to work with the materials in order for me to do all the things I want to do in my life, which is a lot of things. So it's not just it's not just adoptees coming out of the fog. It is our friends and our family and our parents and our birth parents and our therapists.
And what one of the things I had said to my adoptive mother was, I can't take care of you and me at the same
Right,
time.
right.
And she at first didn't really understand that. And so I described it to her, sort of, I said, you might not understand this, but all my life I felt like I had to protect you
Mhm.
from you feeling any sort of sadness, or feeling like you had to deal with my grief and loss about being adopted.
I grew up in a, Midwestern family where, right, the only emotions that were really expressed were anger or anger,
Mm.
or just complete, right, passivity.
Mhm.
Um, it was not an emotionally responsive household. Um, and so I, like, very early on, learned to shut down any emotion that wasn't good or happy.
It was always a welcome conversation. They took us to like Diwali celebrations, and they really took our lead instead, or my lead and my sister's. Kind of just like not forcing the conversation if it wasn't there for me, but if I did have questions, they were never hesitant to like answer the questions.
My mom now will say, because we talk all the time about the work that I do, and she always says, like, I wish we had had someone like you when we were raising you, because she just says over and over again, we had no idea what we were doing. We had no support. And I think that for two people who had no support and no education in adoption, I think that they did a really incredible job. They knew how important it was for me to maintain a connection with my birth mother.
When you went to therapy, the like when you started going,
Hmm.
was it for, did you understand any of this adoption stuff? No.
No, it's so funny that you asked that too, because I think about this all the time. I went for, like, there's always the reason, right, that gets us there. Um, I went because, like, I was sexually active, like, young 20-something-year-old, or mid to late 20-something-year-old, and knew I was, like, seeking out some sort of, like, more stable relationship, and, like, could not access it.
Yep.
Um, and I remember, like, early on, my therapist, like, after a while and we got to know each other, she would, like, start attributing things to my adoption or to being adopted. And I remember, like, very often being like, no, that's nothing to do with it. I'm like, I'm so aware of my experience as an adoptee, and, like, I openly talk about it and blah 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 blah. So yeah, I can laugh about it now because of the amount of times that I was in complete denial about it.
I mean, I've never been
That's,
an
yeah.
adoptee who hasn't been slightly interested, you know.
Anytime a parent says to me, my child's not interested, or a clinician says the kid doesn't want to talk about it, they're fine. I say, no, they're not. No, they're not. And so we're not going to push it because that's not our agenda. But just know that at some point it's going to come out. Don't stop talking about adoption.
Mhm.
It's not an event, it is a journey. And check in with your children regularly and ask them where they're at and give them permission to be vulnerable and honest.
What if they are like, I don't want to talk to you about it?
then that's okay. Just keep trying.
Yeah, the trying matters.
The trying matters. The stopping matters too. It's a message. So, one thing that my mother could have done differently, she waited for me to ask questions to give me information.
Let the person decide, let the child decide, at age appropriate times what kind of person they want to be. But you're not going to know who you are if you don't know where you came from.
Mm.
The most important thing in my life has been learning to teach the resource parent curriculum. In graduate school, I was interested in foster and adoption. And I learned about this curriculum through the National Child Traumatic Stress Network. And I wrote one of my papers, one of my essays on how effective this curriculum was in supporting resource parents in understanding their kid's experience, or the kid in their care, their experience. And then I had the opportunity to get trained in the curriculum myself. And I've been teaching it since 2017. A core part of that curriculum is teaching about the invisible suitcase, that children, and I've universalized that since, to everyone, carries with them, that is full of the beliefs about ourselves and about our caregivers and about the world around us, and the way that that gets packed by our early experiences. So now I have language. If I'm having an interaction with somebody that pulls out this belief that I'm unworthy, I have language to go like, that's a belief that was packed in my suitcase as a child. And I can kind of like put a pin in that. And some other language that I've used when I call my adoptive mom, um, I'll just say like, this experience with my birth mother really brought out the like toddler in me, or the like 4-year-old in me. And I'm like responding to her behavior as I would when I was 4, and like really just trying to place myself at that point in time so that I can ground myself in like, this is not my experience anymore.
We have a mentoring program that is called Adoptment, and it was created by April Dinwiddie. My staff are all adoption competent. They've either done, I work in children's mental health, so my staff are considered clinical case managers. They do in-home family work, they do individual work, we run therapeutic groups. And so all of my staff are expected to and want to be competent in talking to families about adoption. And so we're just raising the bar, really. And I'm really proud of that. And we're in the state of Vermont, we're becoming pretty well known.
You have to just keep showing up. Uh, those beliefs weren't packed in one night, and they're not going to get unpacked with one action. And I know that can be really frustrating. I've worked with a lot of parents who've said like, gosh, I've told this kid a million times, like when are they going to believe it? And I'm like, I don't know when. But it's so important for you to continue. That's how it happens. They have to form these new connections, and they're fighting with like survival coping skills. It's safer for my brain to assume that you don't care and that you're going to leave, because my brain thinks that it'll hurt less in the long run, even though we know that's not true. Vulnerability is so hard for any of us, and so much harder for kids who've got this kind of mortal wound. So I'd say just repetition, continuing to show up. Don't give up. I think that there is that impulse to be like, there's nothing I can do that's going to prove it to you, so whatever. And that just reinforces. So patience.
You cannot fix or cure the grief. You cannot make it good enough so that the grief won't be there. And if you try to do that, the adoptee is going to know, and they're going to feel pressure to make you feel okay, because we are master people pleasers. And the other side of the coin of people pleasing is rage and resentment. So it's just not going to work. So what can you do? You can make room for the grief. You can listen to adult adoptees. You can acknowledge the racism your transracial adoptee is experiencing. You can acknowledge color. You can invite conversations over and over again. Don't push. They might never talk to you about it, but invite the conversation. You can recognize that the search for biological family is normal and should be not encouraged, but discussed, an open invitation to discuss. I have met some really wonderful adoptive parents in my years being a therapist. If they didn't get it before, they get it now. And it is really heartwarming to see that.
And I remember my mom coming into my bedroom, and she didn't say a word to me about the fight that we had just had. She didn't say anything about my behavior. She didn't really say anything at all. She sat down on my bed. She opened my bedroom curtains, and she pointed out the window to show me the fireflies across the road in the field. And we just sat there, and she wanted me to see these fireflies. And I sat with my mom, and I remember thinking, like, it's okay. Me and her are okay. It was just such a simple moment that felt like love.